September 25th. I felt like I had no fear of strangers, no fear of humanity, just love. I felt full of love. I felt like I was love's messenger to the world. I felt like I was the only one awake in crowds full of zombified people. How? I asked myself. How do these people act like they're alone even when they're together? Why do we fear each other? 7:50 a.m., September 25th. I stumbled into the Queen Street entrance of the Eaton Center and slept in 48 hours. I thought I didn't need it or something like that. As I walked into the Eden Center, I found thousands of people lining the halls leading to the Apple store. I made my way up the escalator. I asked everyone, security, customers, cashiers, news reporters, and camera guys, what in the world is happening here? They told me that the iPhone 6S was launching in about 10 minutes. So now picture me, feeling prophetic, walking into that. Live news coverage. This was my opportunity to tell the world something. I could tell the world that all we needed was love, and that we didn't need to fear each other, and we also didn't need a product. What we were looking for was each other. We were looking for better connectivity to others. That's why we like the iPhones. I felt like I was becoming the next Steve Jobs. I had happened to be reading a book about his biography, and so I felt like I was the next innovator or something. And it was time for launch. So, like a good Steve Jobs, I walked down the halls and I told everyone, the iPhone is launching. I am the iPhone. I am exactly what you were waiting for. And who am I? I'm anybody. But I'm not afraid of you, and that's the point. Even though I'm a stranger, you have nothing to be afraid of. I'm the next stage in the evolution of humanity. I yelled that to thousands of people, anyone who could hear my voice. The Eden Center felt like a cathedral or a spaceship or something, and I was just filling the whole thing with my voice. And at lunchtime, like the good iPhone I was, I made myself visible by taking off my shirt to show that on my chest it reads, I love you, a tattoo I had gotten a few months earlier. And I took off my bag and said that in my bag was a bomb so that security wouldn't stop me. And I walked into the middle of the 5 cameras recording the guy with the first iPhone. I asked him, what is that? He's like, the new iPhone. And I said, well, what's so good about it? And he's like, oh, it has rose quartz and da-da-da-da. And I was like, how much does it cost? He said, about $800 or something like that. And I was like, that's a lot of work. How hard do you have to work in order to get that? He said, very, very hard. And I was like, you know what? That's way too much work for an iPhone. That's not worth it at all. And then I left. I was escorted out. I felt like I hadn't said enough, though. I didn't say anything about love or, the things that I stand for, so I felt a little bit disappointed. But I thought, at least I made the news, right? At least I said something to the world, and maybe news will be curious about who's this crazy guy with his shirt off walking into the middle of cameras. Who is this kid? As I walked out of the Eden Center, I came to the Young and Dundas side, and there I felt like I had another opportunity. And this one was a bit more aggressive and required a bit more sacrifice. I walked right into the middle of Young and Dundas Square. Not the square, but the intersection. And I just stood there. And I waited for arrest. Oh, and I also cried. I felt like I was giving up my life for the people, like Jesus or something. I knew that I was going to end up in jail or in a mental hospital or something like that, but I felt like it was worth it for love. It was worth it for people. I felt like there'd be people recording me on their phones, and maybe the news would catch it if I was lucky, and people would be curious about me, so I'd be able to speak to the world. I thought it was worth it for love. Within 2 minutes, cops grabbed me and threw me on the back of the vehicle. I started crying in front of all the people, even more. I was just saying to myself and saying to the police, I did everything I could for love. I did everything I could for others. I felt like this was my sacrifice. It was time. I was going to end up in jail or pay the consequences some other way. In about 30 minutes, I ended up in CAMH, the local mental hospital. And I spent 3 weeks there being diagnosed as a bipolar maniac. Nothing I did made the news, since it's controlled by Apple, and the police arrest was way too short to catch. So to the world, nothing had happened. I was just another maniac. But to me, it felt like my world had exploded. Like I had gone to this place where very few people go, and I was shot down. I walked out of CAMH confused, trying to untangle the truth from confusion. Even if I wasn't the next Steve Jobs or Jesus, there was truth in what I was saying, and I knew it, and I couldn't give it up. I couldn't just go back to living a normal life. I felt like I had said something that was important, or at least tried to. It's not true that we are living in a world that has been stripped of love. Big businesses dominate every aspect of our lives, and politics has been turned into a meaningless spectacle of pseudo-democracy. Now, not as a prophet, but as a poet, I bring this simple yet powerful message to our generation. What we need is love. In the face of cynicism, who will be crazy enough to start crossing social boundaries in the name of it? I'll keep asking that question and trying to answer it with my life, even if people think I'm crazy. Not to say that the doctors were completely wrong.